Thanks everyone for joining. Looks like we have excellent turnout. It's our first webinar of the new year. Maybe quick round of introductions. I'm Sam, co-founder and CEO of Axle AI. I'm joined by my co-founder Patrice, who's our VP of products, and our fellow co-founder at this point, Neil. He joined the company about a year after we started it, but it's been a while now, so I think he definitely qualifies as a co-founder. So at any rate, we look forward to discussing Axle AI and some of the major trends that are affecting the media industry, particularly as regards the impact of AI on that industry, and also how AI can specifically help you be more productive. So the big theme of Axle, kind of our reason for being, is that we believe that all video is going to be searchable. You'll notice on that timeline there, we're about halfway through it. It was our intent back really when we started the company in 2018 that video was clearly going to become an open medium that you could search and repurpose much more quickly than had traditionally been possible. And I think history has borne that out. I mean, here we are 6 years later, and there has been an enormous sea change in the way that video can be searched and managed and reused. Not to mention with all the generative AI, ways that it can be synthesized from scratch as well. And all of these trends are converging to make video basically a much more fluid medium, whereas it used to be that it just kind of sat on the shelf. Now it's much more dynamic. So just to give a kind of recent timeline, if 2023 was the year of ChatGPT and text-based AI, last year was the year of multimodal AI, AI that understands uh, video, audio, images, as well as text. And that trend is only continuing to snowball. Meanwhile, in 2025, we're seeing the rise of what's called agentic AI or agents, where you can take AI modules and chain them together into essentially custom workflows and agents that can do stuff, not just answer a prompt, but actually accomplish tasks for you. And then the the kind of outlook or the concern is that sometime in the near future, maybe as soon as 2026, you're going to start seeing AGI, which is essentially general intelligence capable of rivaling human beings on a wide range of tasks. We're not exactly looking forward to that one. We believe in AI that works for you, and we're I think like many people a little bit concerned about the possibilities that it's getting out of hand here. At the same time, all we can do is advocate for responsible use of this technology and build applications that make it work for you. So we're doing that. But I think piece of the change is what's amazing here. I don't think anybody expected things to happen as quickly and with this much investment behind it. So it's clear that without AI, you really can't find stuff when you have hundreds of terabytes or petabytes of video, as most of our customers do. Historically, there were just piles of hard drives, and that didn't go very well. It was only slightly better than piles of videotape. There were cloud services that you could upload and download to, but then invariably the material that you wanted wasn't where you needed it to be. And overall, it's just kind of a needle in a haystack, huge amounts of content that you can't sift through fast enough if you're a human being or a small team of human beings. And yet the number of people needing to do this kind of work is exploding. So it's estimated that there's going to be over 1 million teams worldwide at the end of the decade doing this kind of advanced video repurposing. And at the same time, the cycle times are shrinking dramatically. So again, large projects used to take months, sometimes years. Nowadays, it's the marketing department calls in the morning and they say, we need a clip of the CEO talking about sustainability by 3 p.m. And so people have to find footage a lot faster and they need to put it to work a lot faster than was ever possible before. So essentially, combined with the AI helping us on the supply side, letting us remake our video and do all these things. We also have the demand side, which is that social media is clamoring for more and better clips and better reuse of the existing clips. So the key functionality of our platform has been and continues to be the ability to do things like search speech with built-in transcription, search faces and train the faces, which Neil will be showing in a little bit, so that you can actually find people in the footage, search objects and search logos. And then in the middle of last year, we rolled out scene understanding, which is a really key element because much though you'd like to look for individual bits and pieces in the footage, it's much more common that you want a kind of scene, right? It's like I want two people standing in front of a sunset, or I want a car going down a road, or these kinds of things. And if you just look for the objects, you're going to get all kinds of search results that don't really match what you're looking for. What semantic search lets you do is look for things at a conceptual level, and we use something called a vector database to represent what is in the footage and kind of match it up with your search. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that as we go forward. The other big thing that we rolled out last year is our Axle AI platform, which is a modular approach to solving these problems. We don't believe that any one technology or any one vendor is going to by itself be the answer. We think it's invariable because there's so much R&D going in, there's so much great work being done, a lot of it open source, that the right approach is this modular architecture where you can plug in new capabilities as they become available. And so, like I say, we rolled this out actually at NAB last year and have been building on it steadily ever since. So there are a lot of cool things about the platform. First of all, you can run the whole thing on premise. You can also run the whole thing in the cloud if you prefer, but for many of our customers, the really unique and compelling feature here is that this can be run in a secure way in their own environment. They're not loading it up into Amazon's or Google's cloud and hoping that the stewardship of their media is going to favor them, because invariably it doesn't. And there have been even some scandals in the last year about terms of service on Amazon, on Adobe, other places, where when you give your material over to them for AI analysis, they're literally keeping it for later reuse and training. And that's just way out of bounds for most media companies. It's totally unacceptable, really. So the fact that you can run this in a controlled way, either on premise or in a private cloud that you control, is massive. And we use really industry standard components like Postgres, like Elasticsearch, like we Aviate, which is our vector database. And we support custom models. So you can take the models that we've built and plug in your own models. In many cases, we're helping customers train these models. So for instance, we have a couple of customers now that are doing underwater like oceanography. And so they have to train it to find particular kinds of coral. That's not something that most of our customers need, but we're helping these guys essentially train their own models and plug it into our architecture where it works alongside all the other tools that are there. We also have REST APIs for every piece of the system. So those REST APIs give you the ability to hook in from other code, right? You can call your own code and you can call us from your own code. We also have native NVIDIA GPU support and this connector workflow automation tool, which has been getting more and more powerful over time and essentially is a building block approach to custom workflows. That's going to be critical in building some of these agentic AI capabilities over the next year or two. And Patrice will be showing that. So I just want to wrap up by talking a little bit about our Tags 2.0 API. This gives you access to the core functionality of our AI and machine learning engine, and it lets you essentially treat it like a module. We have people that are integrating this with other media asset management systems, other workflow automation tools, and in some cases, completely custom apps. But something like the vector search, you can access it, pull out results, and essentially get the power that we're building into our overall platform just by accessing this runtime component. It's built on standard Docker technology, so it's deployed as a number of containers. We have a really experienced team, a number of folks that have worked at Avid in the past and other companies in the industry. And we're also worldwide. The company grew up quite a bit during the COVID years. So we have really strong teams in Eastern Europe and Latin America, but also, of course, in the US, UK, and even in Asia now, we have an excellent person in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. We have over 1,000 customers worldwide, and that number is growing at a pretty rapid clip. There are some really big names like the ones on this chart, but there are also customers you've never heard of, little post houses, small documentary makers, reality shows, etc. An example of a big customer would be RTM Malaysia, the national broadcaster of Malaysia. They have our software at 15 sites, including their headquarters, and they use a kind of federated search approach where Axel helps them find material through the AI analysis of content at the multiple sites, but it's searchable all from a central location. And we also have sports customers like Club Brugge, who are kind of the perennial champions in the Belgian Premier League. And just the last kind of takeaway, we have a very ambitious 2025 roadmap, including things like enhancing our user interface, having a wide variety of integrations that are possible today, but we expect to really make those happen over the next 6 months. The ability to run more hybrid and the ability to support multiple GPUs. So right now, the software can call on multiple GPUs, but we're looking to make that more flexible and have a little bit more load balancing there, so that as you gang up more GPUs, you'll be able to get faster and faster AI analysis of the contents. It's already faster than real time, significantly faster, but we see a lot of these applications at scale where people have, as I say, hundreds of terabytes or petabytes of material, and they don't want to wait weeks or months for the analysis to complete. One hidden advantage of running this stuff on premise is that you don't have to pay by usage the way you do with the cloud vendors. Many of them will charge $10 or more per hour of footage that you process. And as the AI gets better year on year, you might want to process it again. But with a cloud vendor, you have to pay for it all over again. Whereas with our software, it's a fixed licensing fee, and you can upgrade the hardware that it runs on and run it again. The meter isn't running in the same way that it is for these cloud services. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Neil, who will talk about our scene understanding and trainable face recognition.
Thanks, Sam. And thanks for joining us, everyone. As Sam says, my name is Neil, and I'm based just outside London in the UK. And I will show you our cool AI tools. I'm going to spend 1 minute just looking at our original metadata as well, of course. So every MAM has traditional file-based metadata, and the user would have to learn what words were used in their metadata, and they would actually have to manually add that data to the files. And of course, you can do that in groups of files or folders full of files. What we can now allow you to do is do natural searching. And we can search for scenes and faces. And we can also search for words as well. And when Sam mentioned we have the contextual search, this brings in a whole new level of searching. So a user does not actually need to know specific words for searching. So imagine a journalist who's in a hurry to find something and they need a shot. So I'm going to find, I'm going to search for, let's say, people in a cafe. And I'm going to switch on the contextual search and then hit enter. So what's going to happen is the system is going to come back with suggestions, and I can mouse over these suggestions and we will see a description of what I've got here. And if I like this particular shot, what I'll do is I'll just select it and it will take me directly to that frame, and I can say, all right, that's the frame I want to use. Then I can mark up ins and outs, drop the files into a bin, and then do something with it. If it's not correct, I can go back to my original search results and then look for something else here. So that's just one example, but it can also do other things. Another term here, let's say the term winter. The contextual search also includes what we call a vector search. So it's looking for words related to winter. So it's going to find snow and ice and frost, as well as the word winter. And if I scroll down, we have a number of different results here. And we also have text results as well. So in these files, the word winter is actually used, where in the contextual search results, we are seeing words related to winter. And notice also I've got some black and white results here. All of our AI tools will work with black and white content, so historical content, and it will also work with photographs as well. So if I want to find something, I can select a clip here, and so I did a search for winter, and we can see this lovely wintry scene here as well, which is very, very cool. And you can just keep on adding different types of searches to make that work. So if, let's say, for example, again, thinking of a journalist, and I want to find a car crash, and again, I can enter that, and the system will come up with different examples of what I'm looking for very quickly indeed. So again, I've got the examples there. I can also change how accurately or how close to the results I'm actually looking for by changing the vector results here. And we can see that most of these are not changing. There is some changing down here as the results change. So you can change the accuracy of the results there as well. Looking at faces, I'm going to do a search for Sam and me and Alex. And if I find this particular clip here, just looking along the bottom, we have a number of different AI models, and we have our faces here. And then if I scroll down, we can see exactly where people are in the clip. And if I jump over to my speech and I enable the transcript view, then I can actually see and hear the spoken word as well. And that also becomes searchable. And also I can filter this as well. So if you had a very long clip, you could then filter to where someone has actually said the specific words there. So that's the face recognition, the speech to text, the speech to text, as well as the contextual searching. Sam also mentioned that we have custom models. And this is a system where we can implant specific tailored models for a particular task. So this is a particular project. We're working with a Northern European company, and they are particularly interested in deep sea creatures and the nature of what's happening on the seafloor. So this particular model that we happen to have called Ocean 2 is dedicated to deep sea life and what's happening on the surface of the sea as well. But in this case, we could also add things like models for fish or models for animals. So the ability to add custom models is very useful. One other thing we have been doing as well is we can also train animated characters. So in the UK, we're working with one or two large animation houses, and we can recognize their characters. And because we can do speech to text, we can find a particular character and what they're saying as well, which makes it very useful. So there are lots of different applications for AI, and it does not necessarily have to be the default items that you get here. How we train the system and how we manage the system is in our tags interface. This is our admin interface. So a normal Axel Media Management user would not see this interface. The administrator can enter the backend interface and train faces. And there's two ways we can add faces. You can add faces ahead of time by adding or uploading a number of training images, and then the system will continue to learn about the different people. So for example, if I search for me here, so we started off with photographs, and then the system continues to learn from the different clips that I have here. What we've also discovered is users will actually process the video clips first, then they will the media manager will come into the back end here and then add the faces after the event. So what I can see here is a detailed results page, and I can look at faces, and I can look at the details of the faces. And in this particular case, none of the faces in this particular video have already been trained. But I can easily go in and add the faces to the system, and then they will be known from there. So that was quite an interesting way that the customers were working. So you have a choice of pre-learning or post-learning as well. And also, this is where we can see the different objects that we have in the system. So we have over 200 objects, um, and that's out with what the scene understanding will show us as well. And we've also got logo detection. So if you're looking for particular logos, it will find these. So an example of that would be um, if I do a search for Coca-Cola, and it will come back with different different items, and I can then find there's Coke there. So if I just jump to that there, and we can see the scene description saying bottles of Coca-Cola there, and if I go to the logos, it will also tell me that Coke is in this particular scene as well. So um, we can train specific logos if the customer wants to put their own logos in there as well. And I think that's probably about time for me to hand over. If there are any questions, please go ahead and ask them. Or uh, if there's a particular search you'd like me to try to see what the results are like, again, please let us know.
Thanks, Neil. That was great. It's probably worth mentioning again that all of the back end for what Neil is running on is actually running on premise. We're not calling out to cloud services for this and that. It's very empowering, especially for customers who have a large amount of media that they don't necessarily want to end up getting scraped for, the training of somebody's large language model or something like that. And by the way, feel free to ask lots of questions. The three of us are all, at the ready. Obviously, the person who's presenting may not be as quick on the draw, but we can definitely answer questions as we go. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Patrice to talk about connector because it's been a really core ingredient of many of our largest integrations. Both of the customers that I mentioned earlier, for instance, use connector heavily. And at RTM, it's actually used to coordinate between the multiple sites. So we're actually synchronizing between regional sites and a headquarters and arranging for the media and the metadata to converge in a way that kind of is transparent to the user. Um, in the case of Club Brugge, it's used to push media when the games are shot away from home. They want to push the content to their private servers, those kinds of things. So in general, connector has been really helpful in letting us build out functionality. And traditionally, MAMs have kind of lumped all of this together, the custom with the standard, but that leads to very expensive, cumbersome solutions. And what we've tried to do is keep the standard stuff 100% standard, and then use connector for basically as a Swiss Army knife for all the other things you might like to have in your application. So with that, I'll turn it over to Patrice to talk about it a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Neil, for the demo. I appreciate it, and thank you, everybody, for joining. And I see some questions rolling in, so we are going to try to answer answer as much as we can. I just wanted to provide, though, a little bit of context before I jump into sharing my screen. We are announcing the rollout of a 2.0 version of the API. You saw that we just started with speech and faces before, then we added logos and objects. Now we have scene understanding, and we are adding custom models. And all of these features kind of bloated our own API responses. So by streamlining the whole process, this is basically what is the 2.0 version of our API. We are streamlining AI processing, whether it is with Axel MAM, which Neil demonstrated what it can look like, or other media asset management solutions, or everything else. So this streamline is giving you access to custom model face, contextual search, in and out points returns, in and out points meaning start time, end time within a video clip, and also the vector search. So the scene understanding search or contextual search. When you enter the sentence of what you're looking for, we need to convert these into a format that will be understood by the vector database. And that is also a API endpoint that needed to be introduced in our AI. So I just wanted to give a little bit of context with the API. And with that, we hope that you will use connector, but we have also open REST API to our workflow. So I'm going to demonstrate what you could potentially do with connector. So briefly, a connector is a workflow automation tool. If you can picture a diagram of what you want a task to look like, this is what connector will do. And as Sam mentioned, the agent AI coming, we hope to integrate these kind of AI machine learning capabilities within connector also sometime this year. So briefly, the interface is design/diagram area, settings and different working areas, and the logs. I can right-click and find by categories what I'm looking for. And you can see that we have a lot that can be done. I have JavaScript. We can do also event calls, so basically on schedule or UI, file manipulation, image manipulation, integrating to media asset management, network interfacing, Microsoft Office, etc. So you will see all these kind of things that we can do, and that comes preloaded. I can also perform a quick search. So I can say, for example, bring me a UI trigger, and I will bring over here, and this green arrow will be the flow, and you can have also a fail point that will bring me another flow. And all I'm just going to do right now is just list content of a folder. So I will do file list, and I will bring it over and drive the flow. And I'm showing you something very simple before we jump to the more complex bits. And you will see that when I'm done, I can do something. Upon failure, I can do something else. And now I have these circles with different colors, which are basically data. And the color is data type, whether it is an array or a Boolean or a string. I can pass different content. And I can either provide the information from my diagram or just fill it directly. So by opening this, we are going to go to this folder and output the files, as you can update here. And we are just going to list them all. So for each, I will iterate through the list of files I found. And for each of them from the content found, I will just print the file. So just a quick example of the element being print each time. And that's it. And when you run the project, it will run through the process. So with that, what you can do is then make REST API and REST call. So while I will sort my licensing in here, let me show you different things that you can do, such as HTTP request. So I can connect to an API and perform REST calls to other tools. So really, what we can do is suddenly integrate with any other vendor. And this is why connector has been part of so many of our deals recently. And when we get to do it, going to just access another system with connector. When we get to connector being run with different workflows, we can then start to call it from my Axel system. So opening the browser and going to Axel, you will see that I will have different options that I can do from connector. And this is how we will have connector. So going back to connector, we have REST API. I can call directly JavaScript. And of course, I can also have access to my Axel media asset management, where I can get some details, such as get AI information. So if I were to use the AI information that I have stored in my Axel, I would then be able to pass it along and start to process the files. With what? Well, again, we can program, we can draw. So let me show you some examples as to what we have. I could, for example, get through here. And we can do a conversion to 1080p, where you will start to see that we can branch out, gather the information. This looks very complex, but the idea is I'm gathering the information from my Axel that I pass along, and from the information I receive, I either create a 1080p version of my clip, and you will see the ffmpeg command that I have here, create a 1080p version of my clip directly into the system. Or I can also branch out, eventually say, hey, I have a duration and an in and out point. I will be able to pass along with in and out points from here, starting system and to the end. So or the whole clip. So we can branch out based on some condition and perform our tasks. Same thing with copying files. We can send them directly to Dropbox, make verified copy with MD5 checksum. So we have a lot of things we can do. But going back to the API and the AI, nothing will stop me from utilizing connector. And we have also some AI component coming directly as units that you will see here. But nothing will stop me from doing a REST API call from my Axel tags and feeding it to my CMS of choice, or adding the senior understanding search directly into another platform that will automatically embed my text term, go to perform research in the vector database, retrieve the information, and get there. And so that was a presentation of connector. And I do see we have a bunch of questions. Some of them had already been answered. Any questions you think might be worth addressing here?
I think we've been able to answer most of them coming in. I think, with connector, probably the key point that that you touched on is how extensible it is. The sheer number of functions that are available, and also the ability to create new functions quite easily, because it's all built in Java, but it can talk to command lines, it can talk to REST, it can talk to essentially anything. So it's kind of like a big Swiss Army knife, but it keeps all the customization external to the MAM and AI engines. And those are they just run. So what we're able to do is come out with typically about 2 releases a year of the code base. And that has continued to be the case even as we've built these new capabilities because we can stay fairly agile. The customization for most of our customers exists inside connector rather than in the core code. I don't know if there are other examples of some of the functions in the menu you might want to show, just like examples of things that you can do, like reading and writing Excel spreadsheets and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. And let's go to the whole list. The list is very extensive. You can have just like getting some, we have integration with OpenCV, FFmpeg. We are looking at ImageMagick, Archiware for restoring from tape or other Archiware options. Array iterator. You can see the whole list is very extensive.
And
Math
that's just the
operations.
A's. We haven't even gotten to the B's and C's.
Exactly, exactly. Excel spreadsheet. So we can actually parse an Excel spreadsheet and gather the information. A lot of our customers, that's what they are doing actually. It's basically, I have a list of data. I need to pass it to my Excel and I don't want to go through the whole process. We just go through the Excel spreadsheets, gather the information and feed directly Excel with the information. File copies, all the file manipulation, getting the file size, reading the file, delete the file, compressing, whether or not when the file was updated or last opened. We have all these different things that we can go through. And more importantly, I've done some integration with many vendors doing REST API calls. And also connector comes with its own REST API, so you can easily uh, call it from outside as well. And that becomes really the engine that turns the wheel for a lot of our customers. I have an interface I can easily use to preview content and search. I have machine learning capabilities on premise that will allow me to automatically tag my media, have understanding of what is happening, and perform searches. And with connector, what I can do is perform tasks on what I have found. Because this is where other media asset management solutions are basically hitting a wall. Is they understand people need to find their stuff. They also know that we need to perform tasks upon a search, but everybody has different requirements. Some would be specialized in archiving, some would be specialized in delivery, some will be specialized in just keeping track of assets for other customers. Others will be ingesting tape, digitizing tapes, and having all the information with QC stored in one database. Everybody needs to find something for a different reason. And where other traditional media asset management solutions are spending a lot of time adding new buttons and new features that may or may not be backward compatible upon upgrades, what we do is basically try to keep the interface of Axel as simple as possible, as standard as possible. We try to deviate from custom builds. In fact, I think in our history, we've done only 2 custom buttons. But instead, this is where the custom buttons are coming in, send to connector. And it's always the same call. We are passing who is the user, what is the asset ID, do we have in and out points. We have all this information passed along, and you can do group of files. You can have group of in and out points with from the bins, but that's always the same information we pass along. So as long as this is not changing, this is running, the custom features that you have or the tasks that you want to perform for the files you have found is always working in backward compatible.
Actually, Patrice, speaking of bins and in and out points, we probably should mention the Premiere panel and the drag and
Yeah.
drop applications, just to give people an idea of how we relate to different packages.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with the AI, you can do a lot, but I'm just going to not spend too much time on the AI bit. But here is my Axel panel. It's a panel that lives within Premiere, or we have also for other Adobe products. You can target it inside your interface. And I'm just going to access the same server that we have access to. And once I see the content, you will see the different bins, which I can bring the files directly. So I'm importing the files with the in and out points inside Premiere, and I can start to edit. I can also perform my search, including contextual search, and I can say, for example, man wearing a green shirt. And I'm performing my search. And here's the result. And I have, here we go, a soccer player wearing a green jersey. That's perfect. Let's use that. And I can jump to the frame. I have my selection made here. And so if I import the file, and I will bring this clip with the marker and the point that I have already marked here. So jumping right here, I will have the man with the green jersey. And of course, if I had any face or object, we have the same information that we have seen here. So using our Axel API, we were able to have in the panel, I mean, it's developed by us, but basically it's Chromium inside the Adobe Suite panel. It's Chromium, and we used our API to gather the information, including the AI bits. So going back to my trailer, or we can use the adventure clips here where we see, again, once it loads the information, faces, who appears and where, and bring the in and out point straight into my project. And of course, I can bring it to the sequence. So that's the Premiere panel. And as Sam mentioned, we have also a drag and drop app, which again, I can log in and I can browse. And the idea of this little app is to bring the same features of Finder, but with a much more advanced search. On Finder or Windows, you may not always be able to search the content of your network storage. So I can perform all I want my search. I may not be able to perform the same search, bring the file. So what we want to do is simply say, well, here's a file. I can perform my search or an advanced search. And when I get to the file, and I'm ready, I can drag and drop the file straight into my project or Finder or anywhere else, basically. And we have, of course, the AI bit shown and everything as well. Going back to the home screen. So, and again, this is Electron. So we have done a drag and drop app using Electron. So again, web interface with REST API. So everything that you see here is using the API that we have developed, whether it is for contextual search or keyword searching, etc.
So with that, you can imagine lots of applications where you could kind of embed this or make it part of someone else's application and enable a bunch of custom workflows that are fairly unique. So anyway, that's going to be our focus this year, in addition to the roadmap that I described. Figure make one last request if there are any questions. Otherwise, we will probably call it a day. And,
Yeah.
and again, thanks for the great turnout.
I'll
Go ahead,
just say
Neil.
I'll just say a couple of words. So
Yeah.
for anyone, one of our key target customers is anyone with a video archive. And the keyword to them would be imagine never having to manually tag your archive and still being able to find things quickly. And with Patrice's demo of Connector, we do actually have a number of customers with standalone installs of Connector, so they don't have Axel. They're using Connector to do different things. We have a university in the UK that are using it to let their students drop files into 4 different watch folders, and then we're transcoding the files and renaming them to a university naming convention, and then dropping them into different folders. So Connector is a very, very powerful tool.
Thanks. And for the APIs, if folks are interested in the Axle Tags 2.0 API, you can go to our website and just click on APIs. We also have additional APIs like the connector workflow API and the MAM APIs on request, but we're going to be putting those on the website as well over the coming weeks. I think that pretty much covers it. But again, thanks for the excellent turnout and all the good questions. Look forward to seeing many of you at NAB and hopefully hearing from you at various times this year. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.